community-focused, building economic empowerment and resilience in our constituencies. Let's talk. Let us discuss Constituency Vibes with me, your host, Ricky Alexander, every Wednesday on Sky FM 93.1 from 8 p.m.
Good evening, listeners. Good evening, viewers. Today is Wednesday, 17th February 2021, and welcome to Constituency Vibes. As always, we have our house cleaning rules. We want to ensure that when you call the program, you do so in a manner that is going to ensure that you can share your views and sentiments, and we want that to be done in a very cordial manner. So rule number one, thou shalt not use language that is defamatory, insulting, offensive, or slanderous to the host, guests, or public officials or persons in general. Thou shalt not listen to thyself on thy radio, as this may cause feedback. Thou shalt turn your radio down. You will be able to hear the host through your phone, so please do ensure that you turn your radio down. Thou shalt practice good etiquette when expressing thyself or thy viewpoint. Thou shalt choose to identify the area that thou art calling from. Thou shalt respect the views of other callers without making insults or abuses with reference to previous callers, even though you may disagree with the caller's point of view. And thou shalt be civil and gentle at all times. So listeners, viewers, once again, welcome to Constituency Vibes on 93.4 FM, Sky FM, 93.1 FM, Sky FM. This is a program that focuses on this government's holistic approach to sustainable development in a manner that is people-centered, so that we can deliver progress and growth to the people, constituency by constituency, throughout the length and breadth of our 238 square miles. This is pivoted on the concept of economic viability, environmental soundness, and social equity. Within this development framework, the government's approach to growth attainment encompasses development of a sustainable society, conservation of our natural resources, development of our human potential, promotion and involvement of public participation. These, listeners and viewers, are at the heart of the government's focus on building a new St. Lucia, which is pivoted on a people-centered and community approach, which is geared towards harnessing growth and prosperity, a focus on our nation building for promoting peace and forging meaningful participation and partnerships in the broader framework to advance our economic interests. This is done through our broad and all-encompassing philosophy of planned strategic thinking, designed to fight the wrongs that need resistance and to help the causes that needs assistance. This government development approach is visionary and forward-thinking under the leadership of Prime Minister Honorable Chasney, with his team of dedicated men and women who form the cabinet, the executive branch of the government. And so this is from the concept of meaningful participatory development as a process of planned change and managed planning. The government shares and embraces the view that it is the imperatives of technology and not the images of ideology that determines true economic progress, in the economic words of the great economist J.K. Galbraith. So St. Lucians, at home and abroad, this is a message of resilience, capacity building, not handouts and dependence, as the government does not believe in giving a man a fish, but rather in the concept of teaching you how to fish so that you will be able to fend for yourself. This is the message of team unity, building capacity, developing our people, and ensuring that we have a sustainable approach to our development. It's a message of the spirit of harmony, care, and respect for others. My dear listeners and viewers, one of the most critical components of economic advancement in the area is in the area of our foreign policy approach. My guest tonight will discuss on this program, Constituency Vibes, what is happening at the Constituency Vibes level in the heart of the city, as well as St. Lucia's foreign policy approach to our national development agenda. You may ask, what is foreign policy? Lamy et al. Defines foreign policy as the articulation of national interest and the means chosen to secure those interests, both material, ideation, and in the international arena. Some of the core focus areas of foreign policy involves material interests, which is physical security, trade, wealth, natural resources, control of territory, and on the ideation interests in terms of our philosophy and it include values, norms, ideas, political systems, and economic systems. One of the central goals of foreign policy of a country is to foster its economic development. Among the many ways through which states sought to promote their economic development is in the pursuit of foreign direct investment. My guest tonight is the Honorable Flood-BeauBrun, Member of Parliament for Castries Central and Minister with responsibility for external affairs. Welcome to Constituency Vibes, Minister. And of course, it is indeed a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you very much, Ricky, for your very warm welcome and a very pleasant evening to all viewers and listeners. It is indeed a pleasure to be here, and I thank you for having me, Ricky. And of course, I thank all the listeners and viewers for joining us this evening.
Okay, welcome again, Minister. We are on 93.1 FM. This is Constituency Vibes. And ladies and gentlemen, my listeners and viewers, just before we engage the Honourable Minister in our very warm, wonderful discussion that we're going to have this evening, permit me to provide an overview of the government's initiative at the foreign policy level. St. Lucia was selected to pilot the country financing roadmap with assistance from the World Economic Forum. You have a lot of initiatives. Under that, this provides greater insight into our unique challenges as small developing states to align the solutions and methods for implementation. We have COVID-19 response. As part of the COVID-19 response, and Lucia received support from several friendly governments, and the Minister will definitely elaborate in that regard as well. The government of India, support from South Korea, from Japan, and several. The vaccines, the COVAX facility, donations from several countries as well. St. Lucia Republic, the China on Taiwan, a bilateral agreement, 60 million over the 5-year period, that focus on development, spanning roads, community facilities, health facilities, sports facilities. That is at the heart of our constituency development program, which touches lives and impact people constituency by constituency. The project initiatives undertaken throughout the length and breadth of the country. And in that regard, we must express our heartfelt gratitude as a nation and a people for the continued cooperation and support and assistance to the government and the people of Taiwan. In the area of monetary stability, you have the Monetary Council received the Governor's Report on the Monetary Council, the credit and financial conditions in the Eastern Caribbean, and the Council was appraised of the following: the COVID-19 situation, you have the issues with the IMF and the support that's coming out of there. You have the COVID-19 pandemic, the substantial economic and health challenges posed. So a lot of discussions is happening, and the Minister will definitely fill us and enlighten the nation about what is happening. And Minister, critically, I think out of that, some great things are happening. The news, it has been in the news that St. Lucian will be heading the CDB, and mindful that this is historic because the first president of the Caribbean Development Bank was our Nobel laureate, Sir Arthur Lewis. So a lot of things happening in there. And of course, our minister will appraise us of the efforts of the Foreign Affairs Ministry in terms of taking a OECS position in securing that nomination. So minister has been working diligently and pressing to ensure. And one of the things about foreign policy, viewers and listeners, we may not always see what's happening behind the scenes. It's one of those ministries that a lot of hard work is being done behind the scenes. And on the political and economic side, you have participation in regional meetings. A lot of that is happening where all of those discussions are taking place. COVID-19 assistance from the governments of India, Cuba, Canada, EU, the US, the United Kingdom, the UN, Mexico, COVID assistance, especially at this critical time. So our foreign policy as a tool for national development. We have developmental cooperation from the United States. One of the major achievements was partially lifting the Leahy law restrictions. And of course, so there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. And of course, Minister will enlighten us in that regard. We have the Pan American Health Organization, the International Atomic Agency, the E-Gender Project, and Minister, I know matters of gender is very close and dear to you. So a lot of things are happening, and we will be discussing all of that tonight. So, viewers, ladies and gentlemen, again, we are letting you know that you're on 93.1 FM, and of course, this is where all the thing is happening. This program is specifically designed to enlighten you on what is happening so that you are aware. You can, I mean, nous kon la kote nous pas vle kote Charles parce que goumon de Charles ka di an chay bagay ki pa vwe. So we will definitely inform you and let you know what is happening in that regard. And of course, at the constituency level, a lot is happening in Central Castries, and of course, we are in the silly season, Minister, and some people have been taking some swipes. I mean, even that beautiful project in the CDC upliftment project, you'll be telling us about that, where some from the other side want to associate some of the colors of the national flag with the United Workers' Party, saying that we are being dictatorial or some very far-fetched concepts and notions of which we had to deal very, very seriously with and let people know that those things do not make sense. In the interest of development, the government is working. We will see that there, and of course we have the photos here to show you, so that this is not just about talk. You will be able to see what is happening at the various constituency level. So, Minister, once again, welcome, and take us through in terms of your experience. How has it been in terms of representation of the Central Castries area?
Well, thank you very much. Ricky, if I may just respond a little bit to the foreign affairs issues that you brought up, just in case once we get into the constituency, there's so much to say that we don't come back to this. Thank you for painting the foreign affairs mandate with such broad strokes, which it is. I'd like to bring it closer to home and basically to say that, well, of course you give a definition of foreign policy. It's about building friendships. It's about recognizing friendships. It's about nurturing and deepening relationships. That is what it is about, so that we have a platform, an opportunity, an environment where our friends can know what affects us and we can know what affects them, and there can be mutual cooperation that can benefit both ourselves, St. Lucia, and our friends. This is so important, especially in this environment that we are currently living, because every one of our friends is also facing the same challenges we are facing with COVID. Every one of our friends is trying to decide, trying to come up with ways of saving lives, getting vaccines to their populations. And so it is a time when relationships really matter. And that is why we have been able to benefit from the support and assistance of friends and countries who have needs themselves, because we have built and nurtured these relationships over the years under previous governments and deepened even further under this United Workers' Party administration. So all of the support that we get, and you mentioned some countries, there are many more that you did not mention, but when we start calling out names, we always, no matter how hard we try, we always leave out someone. And oftentimes we leave out those who are closest to us, family members. And I had a meeting with one of our ambassadors of a foreign country last week, and he mentioned that to me, that in an address he heard names called out, and he didn't hear his country's name. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our friends who have assisted us, and I would not try to add, subtract, or list any names, but we have had tremendous, tremendous assistance from friendly governments and friendly countries. And this doesn't happen by accident. It happens because we spend day in, day out nurturing and building these relationships, and that is what Foreign Affairs does. Coming closer to home right away and talking about the constituency that I have the honor and privilege to represent, Castries Central, and how our work at Foreign Affairs impacts directly not just Castries Central, but St. Lucia as a whole. Well, you spoke about the Constituency Development Program. We will talk about that later. But there was a very important development that happened just last week, which we've been working on, and I do want to share it. For a while, countries of the CARICOM region have been advocating, and other countries of the world, in fact, have been advocating for the United Nations to have satellite offices closer to the regions of the world. And there recently has been established a UN Resident Coordinator's Office in Barbados. And just this week, we approved for the appointment, well, it's a UN appointment, of course, but discussed with the government of St. Lucia, of a national liaison officer for the United Nations in St. Lucia, locally based here. That's bringing assistance closer to home. But more importantly, based on representations that we had made as a ministry, the UN has decided to bring its Habitat office here to St. Lucia for the first time, to have a social housing lab in St. Lucia.
That sounds huge, Minister.
Huge, and it's one of the things that I've been very, very passionate about, the whole question of social housing and making housing affordable and accessible. I will say boldly that I don't think we've ever had an affordable housing program here, because affordable is relative. Affordable for whom? So I'm just saying that to marry community and foreign relations, to say our work does bring tangible benefits to the people in our communities, and I'm looking forward to the establishment of that social housing lab, because I will particularly be looking to see how it can benefit my constituency, the people who I love and serve, and of course other communities. I have my projects lined up already. I hope I can have an opportunity to speak about them here tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
If I can't,
this is the forum for that.
I want to promise you that I will come back, but I know there's a lot to be said. Right. But social housing is coming to St. Lucia. UN Habitat is coming to St. Lucia, and we will get housing for people who need it, and everyone needs it. Not everyone can have a castle, not everyone can have a big house on the hill, but everyone needs to have decent housing. And I want my constituents to know that I am committed to that, and I am really excited that we have already developed a program for that in our community, which I'm hoping that the social housing lab can help us implement. So that's coming in addition to everything that we're already doing, which I hope to be able to speak about and, of course, answer questions on them as well.
Okay, listeners, viewers, once again, you are on to Constituency Vibes, 93.1 FM and Sky FM. You can also reach us through Flow 115 as well. So this is where we're having the discussions to inform you and to enlighten you that your government is working for you, working in the interest of St. Lucia, building a new St. Lucia, taking us for a new development approach in a sustainable manner that is socially acceptable, that's equity, environmentally sound, and of course economically feasible. And with me tonight, my guest is the Honorable Flood-BeauBrun, Member of Parliament for Castries Central and Minister for Foreign Affairs. And of course we'll be discussing what is happening in foreign affairs, the tangible benefits that are coming home, and at the constituency level, the kind of impacts that is happening. So, Minister.
Over back to me. Thank you very much again, and welcome again to our persons who've joined us, particularly welcome to my constituents from Castries Central. I want to go back, Ricky, to when I was elected in 2016 by the people of Castries Central. Of course, I first ran Castries Central in 1997 and was elected then. And it's now how many years hence? About 24 years, 23, 24 years since. So I want to say that I have grown with the people. I've grown to love them even more over the years, even though they challenged me very much. And some of those I held as babies now have their children, their own children. In fact, there's a young lady who works at my constituency office, more than one of them, who reminds me that she used to come to my children's parties. So there we are. When I was re-elected in 2016, I made the bold statement that I wanted to know each constituent by name. Now, we know how forgetful we get, particularly, should I say, women, when we reach a certain age and have our bodies are changing, and we forget things. So I made that bold statement of wanting to know each constituent by name. I'm not quite sure how I'm doing with that, but the point I wanted to make was that we would adopt a person-centered approach to serving the people in our community. It would not be a one-size-fits-all. I would want to have an opportunity to understand the real needs of people and to respond to that. And what we've done over the past 4 years is to establish a program called Synergy, or rather a project called Synergy, and under this we have 16 programs. And these programs, every one of them has arisen out of a need or needs that constituents have shared with us, and we have developed a program to address those needs. And I have to say that I am really, really grateful to my constituents for how they've received this program, and I'm hoping that even the persons we have not been able to reach, the fact that we've taken time to develop a structure will mean that we can reach many, many more people in the weeks and months to come. So should I just go ahead and talk about the programs?
Absolutely.
Well,
share with us what is happening.
Right. Ricky, well, what I found happening when I went into my constituency, and as you know, my constituency office is on Chaussee Road, and I try to have a constituency day there as often as I can, sometimes once every week, sometimes once every 2 weeks. And I found that after 2 years had gone by, that the people were coming to me, and mainly persons had issues with unemployment. Persons had issues with accessing health. Persons had issues with housing. And the bottom line was that people were not able to earn. As you know, when we got into office, we had an unemployment rate of about 24%. When we got in, we had an unemployment rate among the youth about 45%. You had 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds coming to ask for work, people who ought to have retired and ought to have a pension or ought to have monies coming in, or ought to have a situation where their children could support them. But the children were unemployed also. And so I felt that addressing unemployment was one of the key things in Castries Central. So we set about doing that. One of the situations we found as well was that in some cases, although people were ready and willing to work, some people were not employable because they didn't have the skills developed, they didn't have the certification, and in some cases, persons, although they had the knowledge, and may have the skill, they didn't have the social skills. And so that's where we developed the Synergy Personal Development Training and Recruitment Project. And I have to say that today we have employed on a full-time basis at least 35 persons. At least 35 persons are in full-time employment with Synergy. One of the first projects that we launched was the Urban Grow Project. And that is something that I had thought of many, many years ago. When I say many years, I'm talking about when I first was elected as a member of Parliament of Castries Central. I remember writing the Chief Agricultural Extension Officer at the time, that was Mr. Rufus Leand, who was a constituent of mine. I remember writing him and say, you know, we really need to do a kitchen garden project. We need to teach people in the community, even if they live in an urban setting, how they can grow food, whether it be in their balconies, whether it be in their little backyards, whether it be in a tile, in a flower pot. And Mr. Leand, who's from Lastic Hill, had written up that project for me. 24 years hence, we've now implemented this project. And Mr. Leand came back to the constituency office when I got re-elected, and he reminded me, Minister, remember we spoke about that project a long time ago. So can you imagine, 24 years after we spoke about the project, we're doing it. And this is just fantastic. I have to say, we went ahead and we held a, well, we have over 600 persons who've registered with Synergy. Over 600 persons.
That's interesting.
At least 400 from the Castries Central constituency, and we don't deny our services to persons from outside. But of course, this has been developed mainly from Castries Central. So, and the majority of these persons signed up for our agricultural program without any prompting. So the first training that we held was with those who had signed up for agriculture. Our program is called Urban Grow. The Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Ezekiel Joseph, has been amazing. We didn't have to ask twice. The government allowed us the use of 2.16 acres of land in Roseau, and we took that from scratch. And this is what we're doing now. We've certified 6 farmers from Castries Central. They went into Farmer Field School, and they went through this course for a number of weeks, and they are all certified farmers. We have 6 of them, in addition to 1 farmhand who is on his way to certification, and we have these full-fledged farmers, and we've developed a farm at Roseau. You can see we have a farmhouse. We give meals to our farmers every day on site. We've already had our first harvest, and we're into our second crop. Now, that had to take a lot of work, because you can imagine we had to make sure we had the infrastructure, the electricity, the water. We even had to build a dam, because in this area, although it can be flooded, it also gets very dry. So we had to do all the things we needed to do, the soil testing, to make sure that the soil content was sufficient or adequate. It was not too acidic. We also had to do our water testing. And I just want to say that all of those ministries who have assisted us, the Ministry of Planning, the Ministry of Agriculture, I mean, it has just been exceptional. And so we have had over 2 years, absolutely, for 2 years now, we've had those 6 farmers employed on the farm. Recently, we started our farm hospitality program. So we have added another 2 employees at the farm. We have a total of 8 now. These are 8 families, all from Castries Central, that have been impacted. Steady, continuous employment, training, and working on that farm. And we were able to, over Christmas, deliver produce to the people of Castries Central. The farm still is quite a lot of the land is still being developed. And so we have plans to have a community outreach farming program where we have a rent a row, so that persons who want to do recreational farming can have an opportunity to come, rent a row, learn how to do some farming, plant your tomatoes, your herbs, whatever it is, and of course you can have that to feed your family. So people thought that there were no farmers in Castries Central. People thought that Castries Central couldn't do farming. Quite a number of these persons who have this, not just men. We have a young lady who also qualified as a farmer. Some of them had never farmed before. So that was literally getting off the block and going and now becoming certified farmers. And that's an amazing story. And I do like farming myself. I like gardening. I mean, I'm from my father was a farmer. As a child, I always wanted my little garden at home. I have my own kitchen garden. So I really, really enjoy this program. I mean, it's really the heart of what Synergy is.
And if I may add, Minister, this is what we're talking about in terms of the thrust of the government, not handouts, empowering people and really teaching them on how to fish. So in essence, that he can provide and take care of himself. And that's the crux of sustainable development as well, and sustaining livelihoods.
Yes, so that's Urban Grow. And we continue to ask our constituents to register. If you haven't heard from us, it doesn't mean that we've forgotten you. That's the thing. Many people who WhatsApp and who call and who write feel that because they haven't gotten an answer, they get frustrated and they leave. They think they're forgotten. You're not forgotten. If you reply to our program, you're there on record. We might call you anytime because as our farm grows, for example, we go back to the list of people who've registered. So we understand that we live in a time when things are very difficult, especially with COVID. People are suffering, and it's easy to become impatient. And if you don't hear from someone, if you don't hear from your MP, you think she's forgotten. I want to reassure my constituents that they are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. Out of sight is not out of mind. The fact that you may not get a response right away does not mean. It means I'm working hard to get you the response you want, and probably a response even better than you expect. So I do want to take this opportunity. I mean, I understand the frustration, but to reassure my constituents that you are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. We also did trade tech, and that's our skills based in terms of accrediting or certifying tradesmen. And at some point, maybe when we have more time, I know time goes by very quickly, Ricky, so I'm summarizing everything. One day I will share the story. There's a story behind each of our programs, how we developed. Trade tech, for example, I knew we had to do something for the tradesmen. I knew we had to do that. And one day I was walking through the CDC and I was sharing with some of the gentlemen on the block about our program, and one said, but what do you have for us tradesmen? What do you have for us? And then he showed me his business card. I can't remember what he was. He might have been a plumber. It may have been general maintenance. I said, okay, sure, yes, we need to do something. Can you get a few of your friends who are interested and let's meet? He said, sure, absolutely. So we agreed to meet at Rituals. This was prior to COVID, so we could have easily met. And we came up with Trade Tech. We came up with a name. And then we invited the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College to run a program for us to certify tradesmen. And Sir Arthur Lewis Sir Arthur Lewis Community College developed and designed a program for us, and we were able to register 23 men and women to do various skills. So it was plumbing, auto mechanics, general maintenance. I think the other one was electricity. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to double check that. But in any event, this program was run by Sir Arthur Lewis for us. And of course, personal development is at the heart of all our programs. In fact, it is the most important aspect of our programs, if I might say. So we have a personal development program called Synergy Pathway. And anyone who signs up for our programs, if you don't take personal development, we take it for you. So
of course, that's integral.
Yes, absolutely. So everyone does personal development. And on a side, I'm just saying to you, we are developing an entire personal development curriculum. On a side, we're doing that so that there's a common thread running through our program. So we did this at Sir Arthur, and they were able to be certified. And I just want to thank Sir Arthur Lewis Community College because we asked for them to design a program for our participants. Some of them didn't have even basic math or English, so the program had to be specifically designed for us. And we were able ourselves to teach the personal development aided by Southwest Community College. Anyway, we had the graduation, trade tech, and one of the things that, in fact, the valedictorian of the graduating class, he actually graduated with 2 certificates. He did 2 courses back to back. And he has set up his own business. We have assisted him in registering that business, and what he wishes now to do is involve his other classmates to provide the general maintenance. So that is also another great story for us. Again, it's about empowering people. It's about helping people to really get job ready, not just in terms of skills provision and certification, but in terms of having the social skills and know-how. Linked to this is a program that I'm really hoping to start. It's already conceptualized. Persons have already signed up for it, but we haven't started it yet because of the limited resources. And COVID has really impacted many things, Ricky, many things. Of course, I know people will say, well, oh, don't blame COVID. But the fact is, you know, we had all of our programs laid out to implement this year. Well, beginning last year, we've been battling COVID ever since March. It's almost a year. And we have not really had an opportunity to implement some of the programs we would have liked to implement, which would have been improvements or the second levels of the first programs that we implemented. And one of these is synergy business support. Because we know that we will not be able to provide employment for everyone, but we can empower people who have a great business idea to start their own business so that they can employ themselves and others. And we have seen some people apply for that program that we have, Synergy Business Support. It's a very simple application. And if you have a chance, Ricky, you can go on our website, centralsynergy.org.
Oh, I have been on the website.
Mind you, it needs to be updated. I mean, it shows that we have 16 programs, but we have many sub-programs that we have developed within these 16 programs. And one of the things you will see is that we have an opportunity for people to volunteer. Because you might want to ask me, if we assist people with their businesses, is it a loan, is it a grant, how do they give back? For us, it is a grant that we give, that we intend to give. We haven't started the program, we've conceptualized it. It is a grant that we intend to give, but people are going to pay back by volunteering their services to the community. So that, for example, if we give a plumber the grant to buy all the tools he needs to do his work, he will have to give certain hours of free labor to the community. It might mean that a Marian home has a pipe that needs to be fixed. It might mean that the Methodist school or the Ave Maria school have some tiles that need to be laid. We will be documenting how many hours he gives. So you will be paying back, but not necessarily in the traditional way. Now, this program, as I said, has been conceptualized. We've had it in our files for at least a year. We've had some people register. We have not been able to start it yet because our resources have been limited. I'm explaining this now to say how this builds on, for example, a trade tech that we've done. So that we're not just certifying people and leaving them out there. There's an opportunity for them to move forward with Synergy to start their own businesses or to get business support. So it's a continued relationship that they're having. And of course, that comes along again with the personal development. If you're going to sign up for Synergy Business Support, one of the conditions is that you continue personal development. You can't get away from it. In fact, the personal development program, we are developing one for seniors. And that will go with our Synergy Gold program, which is a program specifically for older persons, Synergy Gold. So that's Trade Tech, and I've branched off into other programs. You can see we've been very active, very active.
Clearly I can see that. And a lot is happening.
Right. One of the things, Ricky, that I find particularly challenging, first of all, I have to say that there's nothing I enjoy more. There's no part of my job I enjoy more than visiting my constituents. This is where I get my inspiration from. I mean, I've always been like that. As a child, I spent hours sitting and talking to my old grandmother. I mean, my mom used to ask. I could spend all day just listening to her. I love to hear people's stories.
Imparting wisdom and knowledge.
I mean, wonderful. I like to just go into a home and just sit and enjoy the family presence. I mean, you see so many different lives. You see so many different ways people live. You understand so much more about a family just by visiting. just by visiting. So it's something I enjoy. It's what I get my inspiration from.
And that's what you refer when you talk about person-centered.
Person-centered. That is what helps me think about the response and the programs that need to come to address the problem. Because unless you internalize and understand the problem, you can't develop a program to meet the actual need.
And one of the key things about development is that it must be socially acceptable. So it means people must have an input.
It must come from the grassroots. It must come from the people's story. It must come from the people's lives. When they share with you their story, you understand how to respond to it. Every story is different, but there are some common threads that run through. And I have to tell you, at Synergy, if we don't have a program to meet the need, we develop one. And that happened really, really recently. Just last week, we developed a new program when we didn't think we would. And I'm saying this for the first time. Horizon. It's a program that will mentor and shelter young men. Horizon. We developed, well, may I not say we developed. It's impossible for us to develop these programs. I remember when Synergy was first being conceptualized, the Prime Minister and I were going on a trip somewhere. There was some meeting we were attending, and I said, you know, PM, there's a program that is being developed. I didn't say that I'm developing. It's impossible. It's impossible for me to develop these programs. I said, PM, you know, there's a program that is being developed. He said, what do you mean? You developing it? I said, no, I'm downloading it. And he smiled. He knew I wasn't referring to downloading it from the internet. He knew that wasn't what it was, and he smiled.
You were downloading from the people's interaction there.
Downloading it, the inspiration. And anyway, going back to Horizon, we have a program called Synergy Learning Academy. There we give math. So far now, we're offering math CXC lessons. I'm sorry I didn't get to send you a picture of this one. Perhaps the next, perhaps if you invite me again,
we look forward to having you
I will have
again.
a chance to send you our shots. But anyway, we have developed the Synergy Learning Academy, and that's an opportunity where we facilitate learning, where we assist persons to register with established organizations, and we provide the support they need for them to study. So we're not accrediting ourselves, but we're facilitating the learning. So for example, we have at least 6 students signed up for math. And one of our students had a challenge. And we had to step into a system. And that was how we started the Horizon, mentoring and sheltering. And this happened so quickly, we were not planning it. It happened, and we had to respond to a need. We perhaps were the only people who could support this young man at the time. And we had to put our resources behind him, and we're now mentoring and sheltering.
Yeah, mentoring is critical.
Mentoring and sheltering. So the whole idea being that we will not run away from a challenge. If somebody presents with a situation, we will address it. And not just us. We work with existing agencies, with the Human Services Department, with the Women's Shelter, with the Ministry of Health. And our job is to facilitate the person receiving the assistance. So we're not duplicating the efforts of established agencies that already have the responsibility for doing the work. We're making sure we create the atmosphere or the synergy so that all resources can come to bear. Whatever is missing that needs to be added in, we will do that. If an agency needs support and strengthening. So in other words, we want to make sure that the established organizations do the best that they can, and if there is a gap, we will fill it in. And that is where we came up with a program to provide mentoring and sheltering for young men who need support. And I'll be talking more about that at another point. I just wanted to explain to you how we work at Synergy. So, straight trade tech. Synergy Sport is another program that we have developed. We've done quite a few things there, but there's a lot more that we need to do. Again, if you go on our website, you will see that sports organizations can register with Synergy. So on the Synergy Sport, I think you're quite Are you into sports yourself, Ricky? I'm not quite sure if you are. I must be mistaken you with Minister Estefan.
Yeah, in my younger days, yeah. But I'm into sports administration as well.
Okay, good. All right, yes. Wonderful. So, I mean, I'm not a sporty person. I never really played any sport myself, but from very young I used to jog. And in fact, when I was 16, perhaps even earlier, perhaps at the age of 14, I attended the Cassius Comprehensive Secondary School, and I lived at Cedars. I grew up at Cedars, just on the border of my constituency. And I used to wake up every morning at 5 o'clock and jog all the way to the VG beach from Cedars. I used to do that. And in those days, you could cross the airport.
I remember those.
But I didn't do that most times. Most times I ran right along the John Compton Highway, turned and ran along by the Shock Cemetery and went up. And I did that before school, walked back home, up the Cedars Hill, past the convent, got dressed, and walked back down, because there was no public transport in those days to take you to the outer communities, walked back down to take a bus and got to school for 7:30.
Well, you didn't have no school bus program or anything?
I did that every morning. And, well, I guess when you get a little older, it's not so easy to spend so much time exercising, but I do try to get out very often. So, and don't forget, in my first stint as the Member of Parliament, I did introduce, with the help of others, of course, women's football. I mean, we used to have serious superstars in Castle Central. So I'm saying this to say, whilst we have not been so active in the area of sport, we have been active, and I'm going to tell you what we've done. But that is something I also naturally have a passion for and understand the importance of sport. Our motto for Synergy Sport is diligence in sport, diligence in sport, diligence in purpose. So we recognize that sport is not just about exercise, sport discipline. It's about shaping the individual to be disciplined and focused. So all of the values you learn on the sports field, you can take through life. So we do have Synergy Sport, and what happens is, or what can happen, is that the sports organizations within our constituency can go on our website and sign up for Synergy Sport. And a number of them have done it. They've registered with us. And we've been able to support the programs that they have, whether it be girls football, whether it be basketball, whether it be boys football. We've been supporting that. We have also been able to renovate 2 of the courts in the Castries Central area, the CDC Court and the New Village Court. And we are looking to partner with Caribbean Metals, for example, to get the stands on the SAB painted. I mean, that really is an eyesore. It needs some work, and we are already having discussions with them. So I'm just saying that in developing our programs, we're trying not to leave anything aside. Again, personal development is at the heart of what we do. So
it's not just about and integrated approach.
Even in sport, it's not just about sponsoring a football club to have a competition. With Synergy, it's more than that. If we're going to sponsor you, we're going to do some life skills as well at the same time.
It's critical.
So this is what, if I may just pause for a water break.
No problem. Viewers, listeners, you are on to Constituency Vibes at 93.1 FM. Also, we are on Flow 115, and this is the program where we sensitize you, inform you, and give you the information to let you know what is happening, how your government is working for you, the commitment and the passion of the men and women who sit in cabinet, the men and women who you have entrusted to represent your interests. And Minister, one of your major philosophy is the idea and the philosophy of representation based on services and not promises. And that, I think, is...
Yeah. Well, to be honest, Ricky, one of the things I've been accused of is not doing enough of this, coming out and doing a talk show like that.
So we'll definitely have to...
I'm guilty of it. But, you know, to be honest
and this is, let you know, this is your program as well, so
yes,
feel free to come.
To be honest with you, I mean, I really like to just get on with what I'm doing. I don't like to come and say, oh, I plan to do this. Oh, I will do this. Oh, I'm doing it. Oh, look, I've done it. I just want to do it, you know. And I have to say that it's not just about me. We've got a team because I explained to you, I've only explained a few of the programs, so you can imagine what a team I have behind me doing this and the level of commitment people have. I mean, our work is 24/7. So service is not promises, and sometimes, people take many swipes at me and I don't answer. There's so much said. And people say, Sarah, why haven't you answered this? Because it distracts me from doing the work. If I had to answer everything that was said, if I had to answer every criticism, I would not be talking about the programs here today because they wouldn't have been done. And so I appreciate the need for accountability, for being on a program like this and explaining to people what has been done. I appreciate the need for that, but I also know that there needs to be the silence. There needs to be the quiet, just working, just doing it. It took me the whole day to prepare for this program. I mean, I was not able to answer my WhatsApp calls today from my constituents because I had to send you stuff.
Yes.
So it means that tomorrow there are a lot of people who will be angry with me because I haven't responded, because I had to put the phone away just to deal with the requests that you were making of me for the past how many days for the material I need to send for this program.
Well, Minister, let me just add that, and this is the nature of the United Workers' Party. We're quiet, we're working, but we're now in an age, Minister, where for reasons I will probably describe or define as malicious, ill-intended, that people will say that nothing is happening and spread that kind of false information. And so it is important that from time to time that we come out and share and let people know what is happening, how their representatives and parliamentarians are working for them and in their interest. We're in a digital age, a technological age, age of rumors and propaganda and all kind of stuff like that. So we have to...
I appreciate that, Ricky, and I thank you for all the work that you've been doing. And I thank all of those persons who are so socially media savvy, unlike me, for the work they've been doing. And speaking about the social media and being savvy, I mean, when I entered politics, the cell phone hadn't even arrived yet. When I entered politics, we just got a pager. And I remember getting that pager, and then a message would come on the pager, call the Prime Minister. And you'd have to go find a landline to do that. And when the cell phone came, I was afraid of it. I was scared to use it. I mean, I was one of those who said I would not use this thing. It was, as you remember, I just didn't see the need for it. It's the age we live in. So right now, I wouldn't tell you how many phones I have. I will not tell you how many emails I manage. I won't tell you that. It's madness. I'm saying this to say that, and even so, my phone is public. It has always been. My telephone number, my cell phone, the same number I had before elections is the one I have. And my constituents message me directly. And I don't have any filters. I don't have anybody responding my WhatsApps. I respond to them myself, every one of them. And that's why there's sometimes a delay in the WhatsApp. So, for example, getting ready for this today, I won't have answered any of my constituents, but I'll have maybe 100 WhatsApps tomorrow. And the challenge with WhatsApp is that if you read it, you can't unread it. So when you read it, there's nothing to remind you, unless there is an I don't know. There's nothing to remind you that you have not responded. So by the time the next day the WhatsApps come, you forgot those you read yesterday. So that's a challenge. And also with my emails, I respond to every one of them myself. My constituents or my office has suggested, why don't you have an office email and we'll filter? I said, no, I want to respond myself because something you think might not be important might be really important. And I want to know what the constituents are saying.
That human touch.
Every WhatsApp comes to me directly and every email comes to me directly. And this is what the social media has done. The constituents can see when I haven't read it, say, but look, you haven't read it. Or they say, but look, I see you online and you're not answering me.
Whilst we're on that, Minister, let me throw this at you. Social media, from a foreign policy point of view, where the normal diplomatic channel, social media to a large extent has perhaps replaced some of that. I mean, tweeting and all of that, a message from a president or a leader just goes out viral.
Yeah. Well, I have
unlike
to,
the more
well, I have
formal
to say
ways.
that I'm not on Twitter, on Instagram. I mean, I do have somebody who said, "Okay, you've got to get this done. You have to be on it." Well, okay, open it up. But you know, I'd much rather. Of course, I have the WhatsApp, and I find that very useful. And I have the email. I find that even more useful because when I read the email, I can unread it. So right now, I have in my Gmail, I can see all of those emails that I have read and unread but not addressed, and those I have addressed. So I'm saying all this to say that I am not as bad. I mean, I'm media savvy to a certain extent. Perhaps I should be more so, but also to let my constituents know that if you've emailed me and I haven't responded to you, it doesn't mean I haven't read it. I'm coming back to you. I'm coming back to you. But the WhatsApp is more challenging because it doesn't show me that I've read it, but it doesn't remind me that I've read this. So there's a little frustration there because if I haven't read something today, 2 days hence, I need a kind of reminder.
And naturally,
people
there is
think
a
that
need
they have
for
forgotten.
instant response as well in this
And
kind
you
of
can't
society.
always do it. I mean, while I'm on here, I'm being WhatsApped. I'm sure you can appreciate that. I can be in Parliament and be WhatsApped. Whilst I'm in Parliament, you look, oh, there's Mrs. BeauBrun, let me WhatsApp her. But I'm in Parliament trying to focus. But people don't understand that. So they just want you to reach out, and I understand that too.
Okay. Viewers, listeners, you're on to Constituency Vibe. This is your program where we bring to you the information, inform you what is happening throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia. Hard-working team of cabinet members headed by the Prime Minister with vision, with the focus, with the care and the understanding to ensure that we develop a new St. Lucia throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia. So we are on 93.1 FM, and my guest tonight is the Honorable Flood-BeauBrun, Member of Parliament for Central Castries and Minister for Foreign Affairs. Minister, you have a program called Wash and Browse.
Before we go to Wash and Browse, I do want to just speak a little bit about community infrastructure, because for some reason people think contracts. I mean, there's a big request and need for contracts. And if you haven't given somebody a contract, they feel that you haven't done anything for them. I don't know where that came from, but everybody's looking for a contract. And when
we have a contract syndrome.
When the Constituency Development Program first started, it was really about building community infrastructure, bridges, culverts, pathways, railings, steps, sidewalks. It was really about community infrastructure, concrete work. And of course, when I came in, I recognized that whilst that was important, because people need to live in an aesthetically pleasing environment, whilst that is important, we also need a people development. So I've spoken about the
balance.
Right. I've spoken about people development, but I did send you some of the pictures of our community infrastructure that I just wanted you to make sure.
And we are showing them.
Right,
so viewers
show
will see
them so that the viewers know that we have not abandoned community infrastructure in favor of job skills training. We're doing both. So I just wanted to say that to make sure that you put these pictures on it so people know that the contracts, yes, there's an opportunity for that. But what's more important is that if you get trained in one of our programs, you will not be asking anybody for a contract. You will have a steady job, and perhaps you can yourself start your own business. So see the contract thing as a stopgap measure. But the important thing is empowerment, training, certification, so you can be your own boss. You can have a job whereby there is upward mobility, so that the contract can be an added way of earning additional income, but it's not the only thing you're sitting there waiting for. Thank you for showing community infrastructure.
That's what
Wash and browse. Wash and browse. So again, in terms of empowerment and giving opportunity for persons to have a structured way of earning a living, we came up with the concept of wash and browse. And basically, what that is, we thought that the car wash business, I mean, everybody needs to wash their cars. And I want to say that my personal story inspired this one. I'm sorry I didn't send the logo for this one, so you don't have any pictures of Wash and Brand.
We do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, very well. Thank you then. So the whole idea is you wash your car and you can browse the net at the same time. If you see the logo, you'll see that that is what it captures. And I have to tell you, Ricky, every one of these logos, I sat down and I drew them personally. I sat and I drew them. When the idea came, I'm not a very good artist, of course. Maybe you would know that. So I sat and I draw the image myself, and we have an excellent graphic artist who's able to take that and infuse the Synergy way into it. And so that's how you see the car and the internet icon there. And initially, when we conceptualized it, it was not to be placed necessarily where it is now in Georgia Fifth Park. But there was a situation there in Georgia Fifth Park where you had a number of persons there washing cars, and one person in particular, Sweetie, I know he wouldn't mind me mentioning his name. Sweetie in particular, his power wash was creating such a nuisance in the CDC area that I had repeated calls and visits from constituents to get Sweetie to stop his power wash. And that was a compromise that we reached with Sweetie and the other persons in the area who were washing cars, that we had already developed the concept. We had it for another location. We agreed that we would place the car wash there, and that would solve the problem. And we have had the car wash there. It has been built there for quite a, well, I mean, I should say almost a year now. But our delay is, again, being affected by COVID. We are supposed to pave that area where the minibus drivers are, the grocery minibus stand, because you would appreciate that nobody would wash their car and then drive out into a muddy area. And also, from my understanding, the grocery minibus drivers had been promised from an earlier administration that that place would have been paved for them. And the paving, the estimates are quite high, not originally envisaged in our car wash estimates, but I have been assured, the Minister for Infrastructure has visited there with me, the Minister for Economic Development has, and recently the Prime Minister visited the area with me, and I am reassured that we will get to pave that vicinity there where the grocery bus stand is, and that will allow us to open the car wash. The prospective persons who will have booths there to ply their business have been extremely, extremely patient. Again, personal development is going to be at the heart of what we do there, and it will be an integral part of the training that we will give them, and they will need to keep the personal development ongoing in order to qualify them to have a booth there. So what we are doing with our program is taking ordinary work. We recognize the dignity of work. We recognize that people work at all levels, and it's important to perfect our working environment. So whether you are a farmer, or whether you are a car washer, whether you are a plumber, that work is valued, and we want you to have the best environment to do that. So with the car wash persons, will be, I mean, I don't know if you've had a chance to actually visit there. Each one of them have a little office sort of thing where they will ply their trade from. And we will be giving them business orientation to make sure that, you know, they keep their accounting properly. Don't just see it as, you know, hustling. No, this is a proper business that you have, that you will assist them in registering it. And how do you keep your accounts, simple accounts? How do you balance your books? And so it's not just you washing cars.
And that's
you are a businessman
for,
or woman.
especially when people want to, I know you have the development bank, there are a lot of opportunities. So if you're self-employed, you need to keep your record so that you can tap into funding.
Yes.
And stuff.
The other thing is, Ricky, a lot of people from my constituency, I'm not saying this, I'm making an observation, which is a fact. And I had a discussion, in fact, with one of our participants in the Synergy Learning Academy. He had He was previously incarcerated. He spent 8 years in prison at Bordelais. And he will share his story because we've been doing a documentary. We're putting a documentary together. This gentleman is registered with Synergy Academy. He's doing an online course, a certificate course leading to a degree. He was one of the star persons at Bordelais who did his CXCs with distinctions. And as he will tell you in his story, when he came out with high hopes because he had done so well in the prisons in his CXC exams that he'd been promised that when he comes out, he'd be looked out for. And he came to our office. He lives at Babatat. He came to our office very despondent. He had given up to say, look here, I know I did wrong. I've done my time. I used my time in prison to better myself. I've come out with distinctions. I think he got distinctions in math. I'm not quite sure, but he did 5 subjects CXC in prison. And he said, look here, I don't believe anymore. And so he registered with our program, and we're now supporting him in doing his online degree. And we do have that challenge. A lot of our people, in Synergy, we don't ask about your past. Your past is not relevant to us. It's only relevant to determine where you're going. So whether or not you have a criminal record, we don't know about that, and we haven't asked. We haven't asked any of the people who are working with us whether they have a criminal record. What's important for us is that you're ready to work today.
Empowerment.
That's what it is. And I'm saying that to say it's really a fresh start. And a lot of our constituents, when they apply for jobs, they can't say they're from a certain area. If they put that on the application, they're kind of marginalized, sidelines. Because just imagine, you're from this area, or you're from that area. They're not quite sure. I mean, if a businessman has, I'm not saying all businessmen do it, but that's what they tell us. They tell us that. Sometimes they put it from a different area just so they can have a better chance of getting an interview or getting an opportunity to work.
And this is why what you're doing is so critical in terms of that kind of level of empowerment, ensuring people have skills, that they can improve their livelihood.
What we do as well, we call employers and we say, look here, this person is in our Synergy program. This person is in our personal development program. You can come through us. We can't vouch for anybody because we don't know everybody, but what we say to them is, look here, they are registered with us. If you employ them and there is any problem and challenge, you can come to us and we will have a word with them. And we do check up on persons because we not only employ persons, we refer people for jobs, and we've had establishments calling us, do you have anybody? And if we send them, we always check up on them. How are you doing? And the employers call us if there are difficulties, and we follow. We do have a program called Anchor, and that's our counseling program. So we have some specialized contractors who work with Synergy. So whereas we can't employ all of the expertise we need, for example, we have a contractor we have a counselor, a trained counselor who's on contract with us, on a retainer, and right there in our program, if persons need support, whether it be for a drug addiction that they have, whether it be for counseling they need, whether it be domestic violence, suicidal thoughts, whatever it is, our counselor, we have a dedicated program just for counseling. It's called Anchor. So we provide that to our participants as well. And there are other specialized contractors that we have, because we've had situations where somebody might need the advice of a lawyer. You're facing a situation, and that has been particularly true with COVID, with landlord and tenant issues. We've had a number of people who have been evicted. We have had people in our program who've gone home and their house has been boarded up because they haven't been able to pay their rent and their landlord has just nailed the door. And it's important that we can respond to things like that, because we can't just say, why aren't you at work? Well, I had nowhere to sleep last night. We find ourselves having to get involved, and we recognize that for us to truly provide people with a second chance, we must do it well. We must do it well, because when people have been battered and bruised and they feel rejected, and they don't trust easily. And if you're going to give them a 6 for a 9, they will see it in no time. And let's just say the added layer is that people don't trust politicians. People think that if we promise something and they haven't got it right away, they think they're not getting it. There's a friend of mine who says very often, she says, Sarah, you need to remind them, your delay is not your denial. The fact that it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. But people need to see to believe, and that's one of my regrets, particularly with COVID. So many things now are delayed that people they're not quite sure, and I do want to take this opportunity to reassure my constituents. I mean, there's so many needs, there's so many requests, and the resources aren't there. I'm just hoping that by the grace of God, He multiplied 5 loaves and 2 fish. He fed a multitude, and there were baskets left over. So in these times, we continue to pray and trust God that even our limited resources can be so multiplied that people will be fed and there will be leftovers.
Viewers and listeners, you are on to Constituency Vibes on 93.1 FM. Tout moun ki ka koute nou, sa ki ka wè nou a sou televizyon. Sa se program Constituency Vibes, kote nou ka diskise, nou ni guest oswaya. Guest la se Honorab Sarah Flood-BeauBrun, Mam Parlement pou Castries Central, epi Ministre pou Zafè Foreign Affairs. So sa se program la kote nou ka ba ou informasyon. Nous avons mucho portrait, nous avons mucho travail gouvernement, nous avons mucho travail c'est mam honorable, mam qui a représenté des fois constituency, so savent gouvernement qui travaille ba ou, par côté Charles Modo, on monde de Charles qui a chai ba qui pas vrai, ça gouvernement ou attend tous ces programmes là, toutes ces qualités de travail là qui a fait, côté mam parlement pour Central Castries, madame Sarah Flood-BeauBrun cadeau et a mettre programme en place pour bailler mon talent et puis habilité faire yo serviabilité pour yo ça pas juste faire quoi yo dépendant mais indépendant côté yo ça travail et puis yo ça vivre la vie de la manière qui plaît Minister.
There's another program I want to speak about, and it's called Clean, Green and Safe, and this really addresses the whole cleanliness of Castries Central, the aesthetics. Also, we have a lot of nuisances, noise, for example. I mean, my constituents in the CDC area, some of them can't sleep at night because of the noise that's coming from the city. And we know that as a government on the whole, we are looking to change the face of Castries. You've seen the work that has been done in the Derrick Walcott Square, for example. We've seen the painting of the CDCs. We've seen the market, the first phase of the market, where we addressed we provided stalls for the vendors and how we beautified and refurbished even the washrooms. And we know that there's a Castries Constituency Development Plan, a Castries Redevelopment Plan. But Castries is our economic hub. It's the capital of our country. It's also home to many persons. And when you go out to the other to the outskirts in the communities, you see we really have a problem of garbage disposal. I mean, I have to be honest and say that it's so easy to blame a politician when things don't get done, but we have agencies that are supposed to deal with garbage disposal, and they need to step up their game. I'm going to be honest about it.
And also, Minister, individuals have the responsibility.
Absolutely.
Well.
So we have the Solid Waste Management Authority. They've been working hard with us. I want to say that. They have their resource challenges. They've been working really hard with us. The Castries City Council has its own challenges. And you find the Member of Parliament is blamed for the garbage.
Minister, permit me to say, in that regard, I mean, in the whole idea of building a new St. Lucia, I mean, one of the key things of our natural resource, the beauty of our country in terms of the responsibility of individuals, as we improve people's lives, as we provide better amenities, perhaps, one of the things you might have to do in synergy is to be able to empower people to be able to that level of responsibility.
And that's
let me just end by saying, because we have that mentality, I could drop something there because somebody from CCC going to pick it up. That's their job. That's their...
Yes. there is that a lot of education has to be done. This is why we came up with the program specifically to deal with it. Clean, green, and safe. So it encompasses the education aspect of it. We work closely with Solid Waste Management Authority to look at how we're collecting garbage and perhaps resources that might be needed to do it. So I wanted to start that by announcing that through our collaborative work with the Solid Waste Management Authority and the Japanese government, 3 small garbage trucks are arriving in Castries next week for Castries Central. Oh, so this is 3 small garbage trucks that can go in the nooks and crannies to pick up garbage. And we are working on a program with Solid Waste Management specifically to see how we can improve collection in smaller communities. And that is one of the projects we have been working on, and Solid Waste has been really, really helpful in assisting us. I'm saying that to say that I am aware of the hard work of Mr. Justin Seeley at Solid Waste and the other persons there, and also to let Castries Central know that in order for this to succeed, we must really on our own step up. So I want to talk about, and I know this affects not just Castries Central but other communities, the day you put out your garbage. Some of us feel that I want to do some spring cleaning today, I'm feeling in the mood, I'm going to clean out my house, throw out all the things I don't need, and it just ends up by the side of the road, whether it's garbage day or not. That happens, and once one person starts putting out garbage, it's an excuse for other people to put out garbage. They wouldn't put it first, but once the heap is there, they think it's okay to put it out on the heap, even though it's not garbage day. So we need to check ourselves as well. Also, there are persons from other communities, not Castries Central, who carry their garbage and they drop it off in Castries Central. That's an issue too. So I'm saying this to say that we have this program, we are getting additional garbage units, and we will be looking to see how we can ensure that we collect the garbage on a more regular basis in Castries Central. One of these units, in fact, will be only for green waste. So we'll be looking to introduce this aspect of garbage disposal into what we do, and this green waste we hope we will take on our farm so we can do the composting and everything. So we have a good plan coming. I know that the CDC residents particularly have a problem with garbage, and when I visit there, I feel for them. You have persons living in a residential area, and an exposed garbage dump is right there in their face, and people are coming from everywhere and depositing garbage right there in someone's, not in their backyard, in their front yard. So there are a lot of issues that we have to address in terms of garbage disposal and collection that have to do with people being more responsible, more resources, and more organization on the part of the agencies responsible for it. But I'm just saying what I'm doing as parliamentary rep to ensure that we have the resources we need.
Viewers, listeners, you are on to Constituency Vibes, and this is the program on 93.1 FM, Sky FM, where we give you and bring you the information, inform you of what your government is doing, seeing your government at work and in action, geared towards improving your lives, the whole idea of building a new St. Lucia where you are empowered, where opportunities are presented, and as well, when we talk about our community, the aesthetics, really improving your living conditions, sports infrastructure, the whole gamut. And I think what is critical, Minister, you sit in cabinet, the extent to which in a 5-year term that the government has been able to deliver in a tremendous and meaningful way throughout all the various constituencies. I mean, historically, you would see 1 or 2 things happen in a term. So it clearly indicates that the government has been very strategic, very visionary, very focused, and again, through foreign policy intervention, our partnerships have been able to secure and ensure that we're able to deliver onto our people.
Yes, I want to say that, I did say earlier that I would not single out particular donors, but I have to say that 95% of our resources, maybe 98% of our resources for the Synergy program come from the Constituency Development Program, and that's from the government of Taiwan. I have to say that. Recently, we got some further assistance from the government of Canada to do a first house project. That's a home for vulnerable women and children. We haven't spoken about that. That's under Synergy Housing. So we have both Horizon and First House. Horizon is for the young males, and First House is for women and children. And so the Canadian government has assisted us with that, and we are very, very grateful. I want to talk about the visionary leadership that you speak of, and I must speak about our Prime Minister, Honorable Alan Chasney. I must speak about Honorable Alan Chasney and the enabling environment that he has provided for programs like Synergy to develop, to germinate, to incubate, and to flourish. I have served under previous prime ministers before. Of course, I served in the SLP administration. I did not serve in the cabinet of Honorable Susan King, but I was a public servant at the time. I have to say, and if there is one person I would credit with the establishment of Synergy today, is the Honorable Prime Minister. Because had he not been a leader that encouraged creativity, that, how should I say, that, withdrew himself and allowed his ministers' ideas to become plans, and to, the Prime Minister really is a true leader. He gives a space to think, a space to explore, space to be creative, always, always very supportive. So I do want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister in a very special way for the way he governs. And this is not just true of Synergy, this is true of the Prime Minister's tide of leadership that is broad thinking, that is innovative, that is visionary, and how he allows his ministers to function. I spoke earlier of Honorable Ezekiel Joseph, who assisted us so well with the agriculture program. I want to speak about the Minister for Planning. We have been able to acquire some buildings and properties that have helped us implement our programs. I want to speak about the Minister for Economic Development, Guy Joseph. He had to be convinced of Synergy before we were able to do it, because you would appreciate that the CDP program falls under his ministry. And before it was bricks and mortar. And when the government alerted the government of Taiwan that it would want to do skills training, I didn't think that even the minister realized the extent to which Castries Central would want to move away from bricks and mortar. And so Minister Guy Joseph had to physically visit our premises, and I had to show him how we wanted to remodel our office to accommodate the Synergy project, and his ministry has been really, really supportive. The Minister for Education, Honorable Gail Dregobert, I spoke about the garbage trucks that we are receiving. It is through the support of her ministry that we've been able to do that in her capacity as Minister for Sustainable Development. So we've had the support. The Minister of Health, Honorable Senator Mary Isaac, I haven't met a more compassionate person. I haven't met a person who cares so much. There's so many health needs. Just as I was sitting in cabinet on Monday, I had 2 requests that I had to attend to right away in cabinet. One request was from a mother who had delivered her baby in an ambulance. She delivered a baby on the way to the hospital, and the baby needed to have an urgent test done, and the mother needed that too. And they needed to get the money to do the test at Tapio. And I had to address that while in cabinet. And just as I finished addressing it, another constituent from Montdue messaged me and said that his 13-year-old son, fell off a bike, and the son was at OKEU and needed a head scan done. And you're talking about how much that costs. And immediately I had to deal with that. And this morning, yesterday, I messaged the minister. I said, look here, I mean, I've just assisted this young lady. I mean, the resources, the scan is $1,200. I can't tell the father, the son can't have the scan in the morning. The minister said, Minister, I'll handle it. I mean, the Minister for Health is the most compassionate, one of the most compassionate people I've met. Said to Honorable Mary Isaac, one of the most compassionate people. So we have had, certainly as a member of Parliament, I've had such support from the cabinet of ministers, and that's how we work. I mean, we really work as a team, and we are headed by a very, very visionary leader. St. Lucia could not have a better leader this time. I mean, the patience he exudes. Amid a crisis, I heard you, Ricky, in preparing for this program. I was listening to one of the other programs that you did and the intros you were giving. You can see the true test of a person in a trial. You know who a man is when you see him under pressure. That's when who he is comes out. And I can't think of a situation that could create more pressure for a leader than the situation we are facing now. And I am privileged as a citizen of St. Lucia and a member of cabinet serving under the leadership of Prime Minister Alan Shastney to see the man in this crisis. And I do want to say to St. Lucia is indeed lucky to have a son of the soil who's our leader at this time of crisis. And I want to thank the Prime Minister. I want to thank the Prime Minister publicly for the way he continues to lead this country.
Martin Luther King sums it beautifully when he says that the true measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and luxury, but where he stands in times of challenges, difficulty, and adversity.
I think that's what you said in the program that I heard. Yes. So I think that this really, really describes the Prime Minister, who the Prime Minister is. I guess if you see somebody on TV, if they're posing for a camera, you know they know they're on TV. But I see the Prime Minister behind the scenes when he's not on TV, when he can be who he is, and it is exemplary. It is.
Listeners, viewers, you are on to Constituency Vibes. Our lines are now open. The number is 456-0931. My guest this evening is the Honourable Member for Central Castries, with responsibility, ministerial portfolio for foreign affairs. And we are bringing you through this program and others. The lines are going right up. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night to your guests. I just called to congratulate you on your achievements in all what you have attempted. And I called to let the Lord bless you and keep you, because I notice you have a great faith in the Lord. And in spite of all what's been said and all what's going on, I believe the Lord will bless this party, the Prime Minister, yourself, that you all will be successful in the next coming elections. And just keep trusting in the Lord and keep doing what you're doing. I know the portfolio you have doesn't give you much time for visitation, but I guess we have to understand that that's how it is when you have that portfolio. However, I know you have us in your heart. I'm calling from the top of Monitor. That is Mr. Billy. I guess you know who I am.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Billy. Very appreciated.
And your host also.
Thank you very much.
May God bless you, Mr. Billy. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much, caller. Of course, you can tell by that caller the appreciation for what is happening. Welcome to Constituency Vibes. Good night.
I will say good night, Minister.
Good night.
I just want to say you're doing a very good job. I'm proud of you. We all know that you're a woman of faith and standard. I want to, just reach out to say, continue doing the good work that you're doing. And to all who's listening, this woman is a woman of life, vibrant, honesty. And, listen, I don't even know what else to say, but continue. You are indeed favored and blessed, and you are a child of God. And wherever you go, God will be with you. This is coming from Mrs. Felicia, and her family in New Zealand. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's Ash Wednesday, it's Lent. I need all the blessings I can get, so I thank the callers for that.
Hello, good night, caller. Welcome to Constituency Vibes. Hello, good night.
Hello.
Hello, hi, yes. You're on the program. Welcome. You're.
Good evening, Minister.
Good evening.
I would like to congratulate you on the good work that you have been doing. And most of all, I know you are a praying person. And with everything that you put God first. And in all you do, I know you will succeed. You have been doing a great job. Your offices are all around the world, and yet still you are in the constituency and helping out everybody. I pray God continue to guide, protect, and bless you, and that you should know no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises in judgment against you shall be condemned. Keep trusting God and have a blessed night.
Thank you very much, caller.
I really do appreciate the caller. It is important to be encouraged because one can get despondent.
Good evening. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Good morning, Mr. Ricky. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Good evening.
Mr. Ricky, Madam Sarah.
Good evening.
Minister Sarah Obwe. I am calling from Strozel.
Here. Good evening.
Now, I cannot come and give you my vote. If I could, I would. But my prayers are with you. My prayer is powerful, as you know. And I'm praying that you'll continue doing the good work that you are doing. Let us join together in our prayers by faith believing, and we know that you will be victorious. So I wish you all the best, God's guidance and His divine protection upon your life. And all the members, our Prime Minister, and all the members of Cabinet. I'm saying to hold on. We are victorious. We are overcomers.
Amen.
We are not failures. And as we put our confidence and our trust in God, remember all things are possible with the Lord. I heard somebody with a good voice said earlier on, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And you're a woman of faith. You put God first in everything that you do. God bless you. And we are there in our praise for our victory. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I love Choiseul. It's one of the favorite pieces of St. Lucia to me.
Hello, good night. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Minister. Good evening, Ricky.
Good evening.
Earlier, Minister, you mentioned a program called Horizon, I think it was, that is geared to sheltering and mentoring. That is correct?
Yes, it is.
I think I'm really touched by that program in particular, not saying that the others didn't really make it for me, but when I think of Horizon, I'm thinking of the amount of young men that we have who are forgotten. I do see a lot of programs focusing on the empowerment of women, and that is fine. It's all well and done. But when you look at a lot of the social issues that we face, it boils down to daddy issues. It boils down to a fatherless home. It is as a result of a young man just not being there to take up his responsibility. And a lot of the time, yes, we could cast the blame on them, and yes, they need to take responsibility. However, if we don't put programs in place to help these young men, how can we hold them accountable and expect them to perform the duties that they should if we continue to just put them behind and continue to, stigmatize them? If you look at the jail, what is the percentage or what is the ratio of men versus women? All jails across the world, you always have a higher percentage of men. And it means that we have to, as a country, focus on the fatherless homes. We have to focus on what can we do to help fathers, to help men to take up the responsibility. I am a believer, and therefore I believe the man is the head of the home. But we have so many homes that the fathers are not there. And they're out there and they're struggling, but they are forgotten. So I just want to congratulate you for putting together such a program. I know it was inspired by God, and you have our 100% support, because we do see in Kashui Central in particular, in the ghettos, on the blocks, we have a high ratio of men, and it's a situation that we need to focus on. No matter what, if you look at the crime rate, it's most times it's committed by men. So I just want to congratulate you for focusing on the men and for implementing programs like Horizon that can help the situation that we're facing currently.
Thank you very, very much, caller.
Thank you very much, caller. I hope we can put this up on our website very soon. But if persons want to, because we're looking for mentors for these young men, so that you can support the work we do. So, but if anybody is interested, just go look at centralsynergy.org. You will see our website there, and you can register with our program. You'll also be able to send us an email to indicate your interest in any of our programs, if you can assist us, if you have resources, if you have expertise.
Just hold on a minute, caller.
Yes, go ahead, please. We want to hear the caller.
Okay. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah.
Hello, good night.
Hello,
good night. Yes.
Hi, good night, Ms. Boover. Good night, Mr. Alexander.
Good night, caller. Thank you.
Central. Ms. Boover, I thank you for all what you have been doing for Cashew Central. I am one of your testimonies. I am in your math class, your CXT math class. I am also a worker. I was one of your CSWs. I am so excited in what you are doing for Cashew Central. And I lift you up in praise. I ask God to continue to bless you. Thank you for all what you are doing for Cashew Central. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you very much, caller. You're on to Constituency Vibes, 93.1 FM. The number to call is 456-0931. And this is where we bring you and inform you of what's happening at the government level, constituency by constituency. Good night, caller. We lost that caller. Of course, a lot is happening, Minister. Good night, caller. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, caller.
Do I have to hold on?
No, go right ahead, caller.
But I can see him speaking to somebody else.
No, you're on the air program, caller. You're on to Constituency Vibes, so go ahead and make a contribution.
But I am hearing the TV and I'm hearing him talking to somebody else.
Okay, but still go ahead. We'll sort that out if you hear any feedback. But go ahead, caller.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. Good night, caller.
Okay. Good night, Minister, and good night, Ricky.
Good night. Good night, caller.
I want to say tonight, before I even continue, I would like to say that the minister is not somebody I know. Okay?
Go ahead.
I didn't know the minister. Can you hear me still?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, caller.
Okay, the minister is not somebody I have known all my life. Although she came from the same area as I did. The minister came from Cedars and I came from Patterson Gap. I lived my life in Patterson Gap until I got married and went out of the area. So I have known this minister. I have not known this minister even if I grew up with her. I grew up in the same area. I did not know the minister when she went into elective politics for the first time. I did not know her. But that is when I heard of her. And when this minister became under my radar, is when this minister had the guts to step out on something that she had morality for, she had integrity for. And because she was a young woman, she came to my attention. And then one of my younger sisters knew the minister. But I have never gone for a drink with her. I've never had dinner with her. I've never been to her house. She has never been to my house. But I have admired this young woman. I have admired her as a strong politician, someone who has been in elective politics for a long time, women who are not coming into politics because they're afraid of all the mepui and the movie lang, and it could be on either side of the political divide. The women are afraid of standing up in politics because of what they have, and those who go have guts. But for young women who want to come up in politics today, I'm saying this woman stands as a beacon to our young women. And I'm saying now that when we elect an MP into government, that person no longer becomes a Flood-BeauBrun or a Labour. That person is now in the government to work for St. Lucia. They have to work for everybody, for the NIPs, not interested in politics, the Labours or the UWPs or the whatever. They have to work for everybody. So they have a constituency group, and they have a constituency day that they go to an office. The constituency group now has to go about throughout the constituency, seeing what's wrong in the constituency, bring it to the minister, so that the minister can sit with them, discuss and prioritize where we go when they're in their office. But a minister has a portfolio. This one has a foreign portfolio, which means most of the time she's out of the country. And that means she has to work. Now, do you think that that minister should be getting government money, sitting in an office, and going into the community and not doing the business that is for the whole of St. Lucia's benefit, but only for a constituency? It irks me when I hear people complain that that minister is not always at their home. They don't see her. My goodness, one body. How can that person do the business of the nation and then do the business of the constituency? They have to have a balance. And this is why constituency groups with the chairperson are so important. They are the backbone of their party or their candidate. If they want the party back in power or the candidate back in power, they work the constituency and come back and bring the issues to the parliamentarians, while the parliamentarian does the business for the entire nation. Let me give you a little example for you to understand. Never in my life have I seen a minister of foreign affairs, and I'm not foreign affairs, tourism. I've always worked in government, whether it's international, regional, or local government. I've never known anything but government. And I've never seen a minister of tourism as I have seen Dominic Fede for the things I saw happening in St. Lucia. And had it not been for COVID, I don't know where tourism. I saw boats and hotels fill up, and every sector in St. Lucia was impacted by this. Every sector benefited. Farmers, little craft vendors, stores, the hotel workers, everybody. Even us as the place is open can go to dinners. Now, can that minister, if he was not doing what he was doing in tourism and was always in his constituency, do you think he would have done what he did for the bigger nation? This is what Minister Flood does. And when we have a minister of government, they work for both the constituency but for the nation, because we give them a ministry. And I am saying, in St. Lucia, we have seen a minister who have proven, I am not there for myself, I am there for my nation. Because if she wanted all the hoo-ha and all the dressings that come in being a minister, she wouldn't stand up and say, I am not doing this. I rather step out. And she stepped out. And this is where I think all of us, women and young people, need to pay attention to this woman and understand she's still a young woman. She's intelligent. She has a profession. She doesn't really need to be in elected politics. So her being there is because she cares about you. She wants to make you independent. She wants to make you be able to have something. That is where we're going. Not for somebody come and bring $100 for us now or give us a little job there and we constantly begging you all the young people. I'm from Castries Central. This bothers me. I grew up in that area and I have seen it deteriorated in the past 30 years. I've seen the whole area. Patterson Gap was a place, and Leslieland was a place where the likes of the Lauras and the Louises and the Juleses and the La Corbiniers and all these kinds of people came from that area, the Kings, and you name it and go on, came from that area. Even Governor General came from that area. And that area, that place has deteriorated over the years. My goodness. And every time it started coming back in the little time, boom, it stopped again. And this time this woman is coming. They're trying to bring it back, but trying to give us young people, because your young people don't remember what this area was like before. It was a place with class. Even if there was a little bad area, Gaffer, it wasn't that bad. Okay, you need to be independent. We are moving into a visionary era We're moving into a place where young people have to become, and I'm going to have my say, because I am going to have my say, and you better listen. We are moving into a time where young people need to be independent. They need to be looking at more than just, I want to work for somebody. They need to be able to reduce the crime rate in this country. And for that to happen, is for people to be able to become self-sufficient. And Sarah Flood is not there about herself. Sarah Flood does not need to be in government. Sarah Flood, if she's not in government tomorrow, she will not have. Sarah is there for the country. She is there for the constituents. She wants to see young people and young women. If you want to be into elected politics, this is your beacon. This is a woman that shows you I have guts. As a young woman, I could stand up for what is right. And this is what you have to look up to. We barely have women in government. And I'm saying we all need role models. And I see this young woman coming up there and standing up to fight for yours. And she's a godly woman on top of that. She's a godly woman. And we call ourselves a Christian nation. And of course, there are going to be a lot of people, because that's what we are about nowadays. Go on social media and call people black, ugly, big name, fat, this, that. And that's what I don't look at. I don't care. And I think she shouldn't care. She's a godly woman. The only report she needs to listen is to her report from God and to stand up and work. And I endorse what she says about Alan Chapman. I used to hear how he don't like women. He wants to bullrag, and that's not true. You have to work with the man to know the man. You know? And I am like that. I admire women who are like me. I admire people who are like me. Stand up. You don't care the cost. You stand up for what is right. You say what you have to say. I'm a St. Lucian, first and foremost. I'm a human being. I have family in this country. And I will say what's right regardless of what people feel or think. I am saying to people, you hear a lot of gossip going around about Sarah Flood-BeauBrun. But remember how long she's been there. Remember what she has done. Remember what she stood up for. And remember a woman with that exposure and experience. Remember she was working for St. Lucia. And stop with this greedy, hungry thing that she must only do for a constituency. She does that. She is not a true politician, because a true politician, when you're elected, you work for the country. You put your country first. Country comes before party. Country comes before yourself. You have to think of your brother. And I had to say that tonight. And I say, you serve God. You put God first. There are a lot of godly people working for you. You, woman, push on. Keep standing up. Hold your head up high. The young people will see it. The young women especially will see that they need something to hold up to. If you keep your eyes on God, and regardless of what they say, He will see you through. Good night, people. Thank you very much.
Good night, caller. Thank you for that wonderful
much.
contribution.
Truly encouraged.
Indeed, indeed. Listeners, viewers, you're on to Constituency Vibes. This is the program where you can make your contribution and we inform you what the government is doing. Good night, caller. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Hello, good evening, and good evening, Minister.
Good evening.
I am so very excited to honor you tonight, particularly when you just started this. What I heard you say something relating to housing, first housing for your constituents. Is that
First house. We've acquired a building where we're preparing to house vulnerable women and children, and that's going to have all of the amenities. Is short-term housing. We are envisaging that they will be there for 1 to 3 years, during which time they will be empowered, they'll be supported, they'll be provided skills and education, and hopefully move on to second stage housing that we will develop. So it's called First House for the women and children, and Horizon, which is mentoring and sheltering young men.
Wow, I think that is foresight, particularly because of the constituency that you represent and the nature of the social ills in that constituency. So I think, hats off to you for, like you said, you were downloading. This was very well downloaded because it's hitting the spot. The other thing that I'm impressed about, really, Minister, is that I believe that you have a heart for the people that you represent. And there is no way, we cannot fool ourselves. We cannot fool ourselves. There is no way that you will be able to meet the needs of every individual in the constituency. You are not God. However, the fact that you have a heart for your people, it means that you will go all out. It means that you go all out to do whatever it is that you can to be able to reach them. And the fact that you do that, of course, the God that you serve does the rest. Amen. And so what I pray for you during this time is that God empowers you. He gives you the supernatural strength that you need, because during this time, there are lots of things that are in the air. There are lots of things that are coming at you well, I don't want to say destroy, but at least to unsettle you and to have you not in a comfortable place so that you can do the things that you need to do. But I tell you, all of the persons who love you are praying for you, and go with the thought that the person who is greater is ahead of you. Amen. And so there's nothing to fear. All you need to do is to continue to put your head or your feet down. You have started running, continue to run the race, and God is going to be with you throughout this. We are going to be successful in the next general election, and that's all you need to know. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Flora.
I really appreciate the support. Sometimes you feel alone. I mean, Ricky, my family lives overseas. I don't, in this COVID environment, I'm not with my husband, I'm not with my children. And it can be fearsome sometimes. And when I put my knees down, I say, God, you have me here. Please protect my own family. And I'm encouraged by this.
Hello, good night, caller. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Good evening, Ricky.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Madam Minister.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you something. Look like you. You look like a little girl. As some may say, a little punk just come on the stage.
I hope that's a compliment, sir.
But I'll tell you what. You got a heart like a lion. Because you've done something that even men hasn't done. Men, you have more balls than men that have balls if you be language.
Okay.
For you to start with Kenny Anthony, as a cool, calm, like a lamb, let's say like a lamb per se, and put him in his place and said to him, I'm not going to stop this nonsense. You want to take it back or it's gone. Respect, not respect. Take a bow.
Thank you very much, sir.
I want to be short. I think it was last year or the year before last year I was home. I'm usually home all the time. I saw you, our great Prime Minister, Sir Alan Michael Shaste, Guy, and a few others. MPs on both sides, I saw you all. And you know what I saw? When I saw y'all, I said to myself, are these people ministers? Are they politicians? I cannot believe my eyes. Y'all were so cool, and y'all so calm, so collective. I said, no, man. I said to my brother's Abraho. His name Abraho. They are politicians? I cannot believe it. And when I took a look at the SLP MPs, I saw devilish. Like they had the world on their head. I couldn't believe my eyes, man. And that is the work of a few champions. A few champions, great politicians. Every one of y'all. I'm not saying that because they have a mouth. But let me say this to you. There's something called good, better, best. And the best, as you know, are the champions like Brian Lara, Muhammad Ali, Pele, and those kind of guys. You guys fit in that course. Respect.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Good night. Thanks, caller. You're on to Constituency Vibes, 456-0931. This is the program where we bring you information, programs, policies of the government to show you how your government is hard at work to transform St. Lucia, to improve lives and impact people, and to ensure that we develop a society based on equity, we protect our environment, and we ensure that people move through a level where they are not just dependent, but we empower them with skills to ensure that they can survive and that we can continue to grow and develop as a wonderful nation. So this is your program, Constituency Vibes. And Minister, it's indeed how time flies.
Are we done yet?
We're getting close.
Okay.
We're getting close.
Do we have another caller? I just want to make sure that I just want to mention some of our other programs,
yes, please
so
go
that
ahead.
people know that they are not forgotten.
Okay.
Synergy Special, that's for persons with special needs. That's coming up soon.
Welcome. Good night, caller. Welcome. Good night.
Good night, sir. Can't hear.
Can you speak a little louder, caller? Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night. Good night, sir.
I'm very happy to see you all tonight there. And I say I'm very happy to see you, Minister.
Thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate it.
I mean, I really appreciate when you will win the election. And the most important one is when you will win. So when you will defeat your opponent, I'll be more happy. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. All right. We will take one or two more calls before we wrap up, and then
Sure.
you will
Indeed.
end with your contribution. Caller, this is your program of Constituency Vibes, to inform you what's happening in the constituency by the government. Good night, caller. Welcome.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Yes, okay. I'd like to ask, by the way, good evening, Mr. Alexander. Good evening, Ms. Minister.
Good evening. Good evening,
I
sir.
just wanted to ask a question. Your different initiatives for the Synergy program, is it only available to your constituents in Central Castries, or is it available to people outside of your constituency?
Okay, so that's a very good question. Primarily, it has been developed for the people of Castries Central, bearing in mind their particular needs. But as I indicated earlier in the program, we have had over 600 people sign up for Synergy. The majority of these are from Castries Central, but not all of them. In fact, we have persons from every constituency that have been signed up. And our rule is not to turn anybody away. So we have persons in our programs who are, the majority by far are from Castries Central, 80%. But if persons come to us with a need and we can assist, we do assist them. But we also inform their representatives, because we don't want to encroach on other persons' constituencies. Also, some of our resource people are not from Castries Central, because you would realize that we need to draw resources from wherever they exist in St. Lucia.
Okay,
so if you are intending, yes, sorry?
Yeah, what is the contact for the Synergy?
So what you can do is go on to centralsynergy.org, and our website will pop up, and then there's a register button there. If you click on that, you can fill out the registration form. It comes directly to us. Okay. Or if you wish, you can come down to our offices on Chaussee Road. The Synergy office is located within the office of the Member of Parliament. And so if you come opposite the gas station, you will see the Synergy sign, yes, and you can come into us. Also, you can send us an email directly from our website.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Earlier in your opening statement, you made mention of the WhatsApp. Once you've read a message, if you go back out from it and you press on the name for about 2 seconds, a tick will come on, and you can click on the 3 dots above, and it will ask you if you want to mark as unread.
Oh, wonderful, sir. Now, I will have to ask my staff why none of them have ever told me so.
Right.
I really appreciate that.
I was just playing around with it, and I...
Oh, wonderful. Are you from Castries Central?
Well, actually from Castries North.
Okay. Because I'll need to try that out, and if it doesn't happen, I'll need to know how I should do it. So,
once you just click on, like, if you've read a message, you go back out of it, like you will see the person's name, you just depress it for about 2 seconds, you see a tick come on, then you click on the 3 buttons at the top, it will give you an option to mark as unread.
Thank you very much, sir. You've just helped me to serve my constituents better. I want to thank you very much for that. That is very important information, and I look forward to you contacting us and seeing how we can collaborate together.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Carl. And we will take one final call, 456-0931. This is your program, Constituency Vibes, where we bring you all what is happening throughout the length of breadth of St. Lucia, the various programs, what your government is doing, how we are working for you. Good night. You are our final caller. Welcome, caller.
Good night. Welcome.
Hello, good night. Caller, can you hear me? Hello? Good night. Just speak a little louder, please. Hello?
Hello, good night.
Hi, good night. We can hear you better now.
Good night.
Mr. Bover. Good night, Mr. Alexander.
Good night.
Good night.
I would like just calling to thank Minister for all the good things she is doing. Just calling to thank Minister Bover.
Thank you very much for doing that. It's appreciated.
Mr. Bover, I am one of your testimonies for synergy. I am involved in your CXC mass program. I am.
Go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
I am also involved in your CSW team, your community support team. Remember the good times we had going out and deliver.
Yes, I think you want me to I think you want me to talk about the study support workers. Okay, I'll make sure I do that before we leave. Thank you so much. Be listening. Go ahead.
So, Minister, I just would like to lift you up in spring.
Thank you.
Yes. Minister, I would just like to lift you up in praise. Just thank God for the wonderful things you are doing for Castry Central. Thank you for bringing up the Synergy program. Thank you for being that woman for Castry Central, for making so much happen for us mothers, us, our children, and the elderly in the place. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you so much for doing that, for calling. Appreciated.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you, Minister, and have a blessed night. A blessed night to Mr. Alexander.
Thank you very much, caller.
Minister, we support you all the way. We support you all the way.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, caller, and good night to you as well.
So this is one of my CSWs. I suspect I haven't bigged up my CSWs enough on this program. I just want to say a special good night to my community support workers. There's so much need, particularly with COVID. We know that there are people who are vulnerable in our communities, but there's a new vulnerable. I mean, there are persons who've never missed their house rent, and now they're 3 months behind. There are persons who have never known what it is not to be able to buy the food they need, and now their homes are affected because of COVID, because they're unemployed. And so we had to come up with a new idea and have community support workers just go out to the constituency and find the vulnerable. And over Christmas, we were able to do that, and that is how we knew where to target our support for hampers. And again, resources have affected our programs. That is something we'd like to have round the clock, the community support workers. So again, God is so gracious to us, is in times of need, we realize how many miracles he works. And so I thank all of those who've called with their prayers and their blessings. I know that that's what's keeping me. Ricky, to be honest with you, with all the programs I've shared about, it's a lot of work. If you don't plant a garden, you have nothing to water. If you don't plant a seed, you don't have to weed anything. The moment you start a work, it makes little ones. You never plant a flower, you don't have to watch over it and water it. And so with every program we start, it makes little ones. So the work is multiplied, but it's God's work, and we thank him for all that he is doing. None of us can take credit for this. It truly is God's work that he has entrusted to us to do. So I thank all the hands and feet that work with me, because it is truly a team effort. I didn't speak about Synergy Special. That's our program for persons with special needs. And what we have done is we've mapped out in our constituency every single place a person with special needs is living. And we have that on a map. The National Council, Urban for Persons with Disabilities, have helped us to identify these locations, and our CSWs also have helped us. We will be putting that map out, which maps out every place there's a person with a disability, and we're hoping that if we've missed anybody, that we can plug this person in on the map, and there are certain things that we are going to do for them. For example, ensure they have wheelchair access, ensure that they have certain basic needs that they need. St. Lucia signed the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities finally after decades. We did that sometime last year. We signed that, and we're serious about it. So this is where our foreign policy comes in and how we're showing that we're serious about it on the ground. So Synergy Special is coming soon. On our website, it's already there. Then there is Synergy Tween, because remember, we have all of our programs that we've spoken about so far have focused on adults. But if we don't teach children differently, you know, one of the things this participant in our program who was previously incarcerated said to me over the weekend in an interview, he says, you know, people talk about rehabilitation, but he said, but how can you talk about rehabilitation if someone was never habilitated in the first place? He says there is no rehabilitation. He says because probably I was not habilitated in the first place, because if I was, I probably wouldn't have ended in prison. So I'm saying that to say it's important that we teach the very young. And so our Synergy Tween program is going to be on Chaussee Road. There's a building opposite the gardens that we've leased for that purpose. And we will be scaling down all of the programs I've spoken about, the trade tech, the urban grow, everything we're doing, we're scaling it down to the child's level. So we're going to bring...
From farm to table and all of that as well.
Oh, thank you. Harvest. I didn't speak about Harvest. That's our culinary program, From Farm to Table. Harvest is now doing the farm hospitality at our farm. And what we intend to do is bring the culinary program down to the children's level. In fact, the government of Peru already agreed with us to do a junior chefs program with our Synergy Tween. So in addition to, so that's Synergy Tween, so we're catering for the younger children. We haven't designed a program for those below 7 yet, because that's more challenging. You really need to have expertise to do that with children running around. But a lot of our participants in our program have childcare needs, and this is exacerbated even more with COVID because the daycares are closed. So we're having to think about that. And the final thing I want to say, persons like to know that programs are near where they are. And, you know, they hear the big picture, but what's in it for me? What's in it for my community? We are doing things for particular communities. For example, we know that the Wi-Fi access is an issue, and I just want to tell Shiloh, who's down in Black Stars, he's been begging quite a bit for us to bring Wi-Fi to his community, because a lot of people have been cut off by flow because of they can't pay their bills. And in this time when children are home, and we can give them devices, but if they don't have the internet, you know, they can't use the devices.
And Minister of Education spoke about that.
Right, although the government is also providing Wi-Fi, but also the government is doing with the GI net. So I want to tell Shiloh, I was informed that after I brought Flo in, the group of people to do this, I understand they're doing the wiring now, but he hasn't told me, so somebody else has told me. So Shiloh needs to call me to let me know that Flo has started the work in Black Stars to bring the Wi-Fi down there. And we've also completed we had to do some electricity upgrade in Wilton's yard so that we can broaden the Wi-Fi a bit more. That was completed yesterday. I just want to say that one of our initiatives is to do satellite synergy hubs in our community, so that all the programs we've spoken about here we can have smaller branches over in our community, so that people don't necessarily have to come down to our main office to come to get our programs. So Wabatat is identified for a synergy hub. The Wabatat Community Center has been built and really not utilized or furnished very well. That has been identified as a community hub. the Lesbian Mothers and Fathers Clubhouse. I know that's privately owned, but it's really in a dilapidated condition. We're hoping that we can approach these persons to have a synergy hub there. And we'll also be having synergy hubs in other parts of the community so that we can bring the services closer to the people. And we're talking about services like a JP, that somebody does not have to come down to town to get a JP. We talk about services like a blood pressure check and all these things. So there's so much that we've planned, and I just want to say some of the programs have been delayed. Everything is working, but we haven't been able to enhance or go to step 2 in some cases because our resources have been limited because of COVID. So we really need to give the government another chance to continue working. We've started many great initiatives, and we just need to continue working. I want to again thank my constituents who have been so very patient. I have been doing more visits to the communities. I have been more active on the ground. But what I wanted to ensure is that I wasn't coming back just with promises. My time away has not been time that has been spent in idleness. It's been time working so hard on these programs. One of our farmers, when we had a meeting last week with them on the farm, he says, Minister, we really need to see you more often. I say, Ashley, you've been on the farm for 2 years and you've been paid every time. You've had the supplies you need. If you see me more often, you may not get paid because I have to sit at my desk to make sure the resources keep coming. He says, okay, Minister, we understand that. So when you're in love, you need to say, I love you all the time. You can't tell your spouse or girlfriend, I love you today. That I love you doesn't stand for tomorrow. You've got to say it every day. I mean, I want to touch base with my family, with my children. Every day, if I don't touch base with them, I feel removed. Something's not right. So I understand why constituents have a need to see their MP. I understand why they have a need to be able to speak personally. So after spending a lot of quiet time, putting all these together so I can serve you better, you are going to see me more often, and I promise you that.
Okay. Listeners, viewers, it has been a very interesting and wonderful night. This is a program for today, Constituency Vibes, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday when we will have the Honorable Minister of National Security as our guest on Constituency Vibe. As we always say, we continue to bring you the information, inform you as to what is happening and what is working and how your government is working for you to build a new St. Lucia, to empower you and to ensure that we can grow this country. It has been a challenge through COVID times, so the government has been working relentlessly, persistently to ensure that we can have this country growing, developing, and moving. So once again, callers and viewers, thank you very much. I do enjoy your calls, and we thank you for them as well, and continue to for your prayers for this government and the various ministers. And of course, that is very much welcome and appreciated so that we can continue to work for you. So once again, thank you very much, and good night to everybody.
And it's accessible right now to anybody on the planet.
It sources data from around the world on actively tracked objects and their locations, then updates it in real time. There's also an image on the site which illustrates how serious the problem is. It shows Earth viewed from space, hidden behind thousands of tiny orange, blue, purple...
Building economic empowerment and resilience in our constituencies. Let's talk. Let us discuss. Constituency Vibes with me, your host, Ricky Alexander, every Wednesday on Sky FM 93.1 from 8 p.m.
My mother sent us back. Sent us out of his breakfast to give us nothing. Still didn't get it.
things were very difficult with my parents, and my mother opened a small bakery in the Castries area.
Because my father do everything he could do for me, not for himself, for me, personal. And from there, when I see my parents from there yesterday, and I just remember my mother and my father every day, how they take it so hard to bring us up. And I seen from today there, I have two disabled children from mother. The mother asks for freedom, the woman just free there, you know.